Hi everyone, and welcome back to Surviving the Love Bomb. My name's Emma Carrington, and if you're new here, hello, welcome. As I said, my name's Emma. I am trained as a community services worker, and I'm also a victim survivor of domestic abuse. So the disclaimer is, I'm not a psychologist and I'm not a counsellor. The aim of this channel is to share all that I've learned on my journey throughout my abusive marriage and coming out the other side on my way to healing. I've been procrastinating about this video for weeks because it's not a pleasant topic. Not that anything within domestic abuse is pleasant. This topic is particularly upsetting. Today, we are going to be talking about the effects of domestic abuse on children. If this topic is too hard for you to watch or you don't have children, I completely understand if you decide to click out. I'm sure there'll be other videos that will be better suited to your journey, and I hope to see you back for them. I won't be delving too deeply into this topic because there are so many facets to the impacts. What I'll be focusing on today will be children who are in a home where there is domestic abuse, or children that have come from a home where there was domestic abuse, who are not necessarily direct victims themselves, because research shows that there's little difference in the impact whether they were abused themselves or witnesses to the abuse. So that's a bit scary in itself. When we think about domestic abuse, we generally focus on how much it hurts the adult victim, the primary victim. So as we know, the research shows that abuse is generally perpetrated by a male towards a female. That is not to say that there is not abusive women and that violence doesn't infiltrate all demographics. It does, but the vast majority of perpetrators are male. So when we're talking caregivers or primary caregivers, we're generalizing that would be the mother. So what's most often overlooked is that children also experience domestic abuse as secondary victims. And this affects their physical and emotional health and their development and overall well-being. The statistics show that 1 in 4 children are exposed to domestic abuse. And this would be because of all the women who are experiencing domestic abuse, more than 50% have children with them in their care at the time. And many will be pregnant through their abusive relationships. You may think that children don't know it's happening, that they don't see or hear abuse in the home, but even sensing the tension and fear or knowing that you are being abused can impact children. The impact of domestic abuse is immense and can cause lifelong effects. When children's early life experiences involve unpredictable stress and persistent fear, they learn coping strategies such as defiance, withdrawal, avoidance, and these can turn into behavioural problems down the track. The experience of witnessing domestic abuse can impair young children's ability to regulate their own emotions and form healthy relationships. So we'll run through the impacts and likely symptoms or behaviours of children who witness domestic and family abuse by age group. So in utero, an unborn baby might be injured by physical violence to the mother. It may suffer the exposure to drugs or alcohol if the mother is using those as a coping mechanism. The growing child also feels all the fear and anxiety that the mother feels, along with hearing the raised voices, if you believe that they can hear from in there, and let's face it, the general consensus is that they can. So there's a correlation between those raised voices and the physiological fear and anxiety that the mother is feeling. So the baby's been preconditioned to react to those circumstances before it's even born. Infants may struggle to develop healthy attachments to caregivers. This may be because the mother's too preoccupied with trying to diffuse any and all violent situations, or that she's depressed and unable to give the love and attention needed to form those bonds. These children may cry a lot, have trouble sleeping, have poor eating habits, and have a high risk of failure to thrive. Preschoolers, their development may be affected. Their sleeping and eating disturbances may continue and even regress. If they have formed insecure attachments to their caregivers, they can exhibit extreme separation or stranger anxiety and lack feelings of safety. They may regress and start doing things they had grown out of, like thumb sucking, bedwetting, or increased increased crying or whining. School-age children, their schoolwork may be impacted. They may have difficulty concentrating. They may have trouble forming or keeping friendships. They can blame themselves for any abuse in the home. They may have frequent headaches or stomach ailments, anxiety or nervousness. They may exhibit aggression or have little empathy for others. They may develop phobias. They may have low self-esteem or find it hard to manage stress and self-regulate. They can also regress with different things. Adolescents and teenagers, if still in school, their schoolwork may suffer, or they may go the other way and put massive pressure on themselves to overachieve in an attempt to show their parents that they are worthy. They are at higher risk of drug and alcohol abuse. They may be bullies or the target of bullies. They're more likely to engage in risky behaviour and be sexually promiscuous from a younger age. They're at higher risk of depression and suicide. They're also more likely to experience dating violence or use violence and be controlling and manipulative in relationships. As you can see, there's a lot of negative effects on children from abusive homes, and not all children will react the same way. Children respond differently to abuse and trauma. Some are more resilient and some may be more sensitive. Each have different coping abilities, and of course, age, as we see, plays a big part. I guess the question is, can any of these negative impacts be turned around? Answer is yes, of course, with help. Specialised counselling services for mothers and children who have experienced domestic abuse show positive results. Children also find it helpful to talk about their experiences, whether it be with friends or relatives, teachers, doctors, counsellors. So the level of success in overcoming and recovering from witnessing abuse is dependent on a number of factors. Some things you can do to assist them are things like helping them to feel safe. So I guess consider whether leaving the abusive relationship will help your child to feel safe. If you have left, then discussing with them what it is that will make them feel safe now that you've got your own little safe zone. Talk to your child about the importance of healthy relationships. There is plenty of information online about healthy versus unhealthy relationships. One Love, like I said in my 10 signs of unhealthy relationships, have great resources that will walk you through healthy versus unhealthy. Really important for our kids to understand. And that's the biggest fear I have for my daughter, is that she ends up with all these idiosyncrasies that I've got and falls into the trap of an abusive relationship, because they're out there. You can talk to them about their fears and discuss ways to work through those. Let them know that it's not their fault or your fault that the abuse is or was happening. Let them understand that there's only one person responsible for the behaviour, and you don't cause it and they don't cause it. There's no way to change somebody else. They're responsible for their own behaviour. Healthy versus unhealthy relationships. This will help them when they start forming their own romantic relationships. Talk to your children about boundaries. Boundaries is an important one. Let them know that no one has the right to touch them or make them feel uncomfortable, whether it's with their words or in their space. Nobody, no matter who it is, and if they are uncomfortable around someone, or obviously to always let you know. You also need to explain to them that they have no right to do that to anybody else. So they can't touch somebody else's body without their consent. And if somebody tells them to stop what they're doing, or if somebody's looking upset by what they're saying, then they should stop and respect the other person. If they've said stop, then stop. And if you can see by the emotions on their faces that they're upset, stop and reevaluate what they're doing. Get them some professional help. Sometimes it's easier to talk to someone that we don't know, and it can be true for children as well. Counselling can allow children to feel heard and validated and understand that the things they've witnessed are not appropriate. And this is coming from an outside source, so it's not within the family relationship, because that can all be push-pull, feeling like, oh, well, mum's saying this about dad, or dad's doing whatever. If it's an independent party that's validating them and saying, no, this isn't correct and you shouldn't be exposed to this, or this is how to handle it, that can sometimes help them to really reframe it all and put those practices into action. Now, children do best in a safe, stable and loving environment, whether it's with one parent or two. I know when I was trying to decide whether or not to leave my husband, my daughter was at the forefront of my mind. I was so worried that she was going to have to spend time with him without me there to protect her. But the reality was that I wasn't doing a great job of protecting her anyway. I was depressed, I was preoccupied, I was muddle-brained, and all I seemed to be successfully doing was showing her how to be disrespected on a daily basis and abused. I finally realized that having one fully focused and loving parent could alleviate most of the impact that he might impose on her on his time with her. So when I left my husband, he kept saying, I don't want our daughter to be from a broken home. All I could think, and what I said to him was, I'd rather for it to come from a broken home than to live in one. And that's what it was. It was broken and there was no fixing it. This video is not intended to be a judgmental or guilting video at all. Rather, just an effort to share some information because, at least on this platform, it seems to be quite scarce. There's not a lot of information out there on the impacts on children. So I know that was a tough one, but thank you for sticking with me if you've made it this far. If anything I've discussed today has given you cause for concern, please reach out for help. As always, if there's any way that I can be of assistance in finding local resources for you, please don't hesitate to contact me. My email is in the description box below, and the invitation's always open. Come over and join us at our private support group on Facebook, Surviving the Love Bomb. If you're finding this content valuable, please don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss any future videos, because I upload every Tuesday. So until next time, take care of yourselves and be kind to one another. Bye.